I remember a workshop you did in San Jose where you were talking about the Mongolian music between sky and prairie. And you had a whiteboard and you were drawing and you were like, this is how I designed the song. The first motif represents the grasslands. And you like drew the straight line. And you're like, the next motif goes up a little more like this, like the mountains in the background or something. And you had these three different elements of the landscape, the visual landscape of Mongolia. And that had inspired you to compose all of the motifs, or in other words, I guess, little melodies within the song that created the song. And to me, that was fascinating, bringing the visual experience into a musical sense.
So I was sitting in a car on the Mongolian grasslands, filming a music video, and I saw the grass below and then the mountains in the distance. And I thought, how would I realize that in musical, in a musical sense with sound? And then came up with those themes, put them together on the ukulele. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the inspiration and the reason for the song, in the same way Napana Ilua draws from, in Indian polyrhythm and jazz harmonies and classical melodic development techniques. And then you put it all together into something that ends up being unique. But there's a reason for everything. And I
Mm.
which brings me to my composition teacher, Emmett Yoshioka, who was teaching me in high school. And I brought him this obligato I wrote for violins or whatever. He's trying to teach me how to write for orchestra. And I said, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And he goes, "Why did you write that?" And I said, "I thought it sounded good." And he said, "Don't ever bring me anything unless you can explain why you did it."
Dang.
So you take a theme and you develop it, da 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 da, like that. And so that was sort of, that I wrote like that ever since. There has to be an origin and rooted in something, yeah.
Yeah. I had a similar experience with an art teacher that used to challenge the students all the time. Her name was Shimpke, and she'd come over, and every time she came over, you'd be like, "Oh, great," and she'd go, "Same thing. So why'd you do that?" And you go, "Well, because I liked the way it looked. I liked it." Yeah, but why? Was always her question. But why? But why? And she'd just
Mhm.
kneel you down until you're like, well, I don't know because I liked it. And she'd just go, okay. And she'd walk away. And so it challenged me and my friends were challenged to be like, okay, what do you mean, okay? You just asked me a bunch of times. Like, so it made me think about that too. Like, why? What kind of message are you trying to send, or what kind of a painting are you trying to paint? What kind of experience are you trying to give to the listener? It's really
Yeah.
important that there's a fundamental why.
Yeah, and in art, like your paintings and everything, the things that we'll leave behind, I mean, literally paints a picture of who you are and
Yeah.
what you treasure and value, right?
Yeah.
So whatever body of work you leave behind as a musician, as an artist, that's you, and that's gonna live on the internet, somewhere on YouTube, or
Yeah.
in a painting in someone's house. But that's you, and then that's what we have, and that's the reward in itself, I
Yeah.
think.